Thank you, moderator. I believe we are still waiting for one more board member, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to call this meeting to order at 9:14 this morning, and we will start with the roll call. I'm going to go down in alphabetical order on screen. So we're going to start with Andrew. Please go ahead, Andrew.
Andrew Dragton here.
Thank you. Calame.
Molly May Pham, public member, present.
Thank you. Christy.
Christy Tran, industry member, present.
Thank you. Derek.
Good morning, Derek Matos, industry member, present.
Thank you. Jackie.
Good morning, Jackie Crabtree, industry member, present.
Thank you. And Steve.
Steve Weeks, public member, present.
Thank you. And Lisa Thong, public member. We will recognize Dr. Carey when she's able to join. So we do have a quorum, and I will go ahead and get started. So agenda item number 2, opening remarks. I just want to say Happy New Year to everyone. It's really great to be able to see my fellow board members. So I believe all of you have your cameras on, or at least those of you who are able to turn on your cameras right now. I believe it's been about a year since we've all been able to see one another's faces. So it's great to get the first meeting of the year started, being able to see one another. I'm sure many of you are glad, as I am, that 2020 is behind us and that we are now in 2021 with a lot to look forward to. Certainly vaccines and hopefully some forward movement with addressing the pandemic is something that we are all looking to work towards together on this board. So, this just a reminder that the board's mission and the purview that we have for the state of California is consumer safety, and that is the lens through which we discuss all board matters. And with that, I will actually move on to board member remarks and open this up for my fellow board members. If you would like to make a remark, please use the raise hand feature, and I will call on you. I'm not seeing any hands raised. Oh, Derek, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, thank you, Lisa. Good morning to fellow board members and to the public. Just want to reiterate the same sentiments as Lisa. It's good to finally be in a new year with a new start. And I'd also like to say how thankful and I am to potentially being able to finally get back to work. I look forward to the economy opening back up. I look forward to California lifting its stay-home order. I look forward to having myself as a industry member getting back to work, my fellow barbers, stylists within the industry to have this opportunity.
Thank you, Derek. Jackie, you have your hand up as well.
I just want to say good morning to everybody, and it's good to see you all again. And I'm excited to start out this new year with the wonderful news, like Derek was saying, that California is now reopened. The salons can get back to work. In Sacramento, we've been open for about 2 weeks, and it's been super busy, and I'm very grateful for it all. And I'm glad that we're able to move through this new year and I'll get back to work and get our salons and spas back up to full running. So Happy New Year.
Thank you, Jackie. All right. Any other board members who would like to share some remarks? Okay, I don't see any other hands up. So I'm going to move on to agenda item number 4. the discussion and approval of our December 7th board meeting minutes. I do want to note a possible change for the meeting minutes under agenda item number 14 in the minutes. It does say reconvene in open session, and under that it says Ms. Thong stated no action was taken. I don't know that this is accurate. I believe we went into closed session, and before going into closed session, we stated we would not be, we would be ending the meeting immediately after. So I don't know that this particular statement is correct. I'm not sure how to correct it. So if staff could address this, that would be great.
This is Sabina.
Oh, great. Go ahead, Sabina.
Sorry, Christy. Yeah, this is Sabina. I was just going to say noted, and we will definitely reword that. I believe that was meant to convey that we only came out of a closed session to adjourn. So we'll be sure to edit that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sabina. All right. If there are no other changes to the minutes, we will need a motion to approve the minutes.
I put a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Steve, I saw your hand go up.
I would second the motion.
Thank you. At this time, I will open this up for public comment. As a reminder, public comments are for the agenda item in front of us. So we will only take comments regarding the meeting minutes at this time.
Thank you. All right, this is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a public comment on this agenda item for meeting minutes, please click on that icon with a question mark within a square located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen. Currently sharing instructions on the screen for your reference. And in the Ask field, typically in the lower right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, please type, "I would like to make a public comment," and send to all panelists. I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access that Q&A panel and submit their requests. This is the moderator. It looks like at this time there are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right, the Q&A panel is now closed.
All right, so we will go to a board vote. I'm going to start from the screen bottom up. So Steve, would you like to start?
Steve Weeks, yes.
Thank you. Jackie?
Hugh Crabtree, yes.
Thank you. Derek?
Derek Matos, yes.
Thank you. Christy?
Christy Tran, yes.
Thank you. Calame?
Allie Mae Pham, yes.
Thank you. Andrew?
Andrew Drabkin, yes.
Thank you. And Lisa Thong, yes. So the board meeting minutes have been approved. And next is agenda item number 5, our executive officer's report. So I'm going to turn this over to Christy.
Good morning, everyone. So within your packets is our statistical report for the board. I will just go over them and then have a few highlights for you all. Of course, we're still in the COVID recovery period, so our volume of work is kind of all over the place. Lately, we've really seen our numbers go down in the amount of applications that are coming in, and that's currently for the month of January. And then, of course, with the stay-at-home orders, that's increased our number of complaints that we receive. And so now today, with the announcement that most of us received just a little earlier this morning, that California is coming out of the stay-at-home order, we'll be able to see some good progress in some of those complaints, and then hopefully schools will be resuming and we will go back to receiving our applications. So just going through the items, I did want to bring attention that we have announced previously that the governor announced in his budget that there will be a fee waiver for our licensees for economic relief, and that is basically waiving all renewal fees for all licenses for the next 2 years. That information is still going through the process. So the budget is not finalized yet. And so what I would like to do is see if at our next board meeting, we could have a budget representative from Department of Consumer Affairs come and kind of give us a rundown of how that's going to actually work. You can see on the budget in page 12 of 14 that the fee reduction is built within that. It falls under the expenditures and expenditure adjustments. However, it came through and after we established the budget, and so we're waiting for the May revise, which will happen before we have a finalized document that we can share. And when we do that, I think it will be important to have our budget office come in and give us some help in understanding that. That being said, I also wanted to mention that there is a Q&A on our website regarding the fee relief. So if anyone is listening or anyone is interested, we did put that Q&A up on our homepage. So that information is available as well. And just a couple more highlights. I know we have several members who are being termed out this coming year. I want to kindly remind you that you have a 60-day grace period. And so, so don't go away too fast. Some of you are in your grace period right now. And I also wanted to announce, since I think he was being humble, that Mr. Steve Weeks was reappointed by his appointing authority by the Senate. So congratulations to Steve, and we're happy to have him with us still. And that is the end of my report, unless anyone has any questions for me.
Thank you, Christy. I have a clarifying question regarding the fees. Since we're unsure, and I'm sorry, I haven't seen the Q&A on our website. So does that mean at this time, until we hear from the governor's office and the office of the budget in terms of implementation, are licensees currently required to pay their renewal fees?
It has to go through the process and be approved by the legislature. I know they are trying to work very fast on that, so I'm hoping we'll have some news soon. But as of right now, it's a proposal in the governor's budget.
Okay, thank you. Andrew, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I was looking at page 4 of 14, the written exam results by language, comparison of apprentice programs versus school programs. And for Cosmo, you know, it's similar to what the school programs are getting for Spanish, but English is tremendously lower. Any sense why the apprentice programs written results are so much lower than schooling?
So let me just make sure you're asking about the apprentice program Cosmetology Spanish written
Well,
results?
but also the English is low too. I mean, Spanish is almost Spanish isn't good any way we do it, unfortunately, since I've been on the board.
Right.
But the English dropped too, and I'm wondering if there is something that, especially if we're holding out as apprentice programs as a lower barrier of entry to get within the, to be able to practice, if they're not able to pass the exams, that's troubling. It's not an effective method of being an easier, lower barrier of entry into the discipline. So I'm just wondering about that.
So I think there's a few things that are going to factor into our pass-fail rates regardless, and I think this could be definitely an important one for this. And that's the fact that because our examinations are so delayed right now, we are examining people who have been either out of the apprentice program or out of school for quite some time. Because of the shutdowns. So, you know, we've been shut down. Our exam sites have been shut down with the stay-at-home order. And so we're significantly backlogged with our exams. And so we're looking at people who haven't been in school or been receiving training through the apprentice program for quite some time. I think we're going to see that play into our pass-fail rates overall. And then also, I think the numbers are very low in general. The numbers for that are taking the test is half. So I think that's impacting it as well because we're only open at half capacity.
Okay.
Kirsty, how backlogged are we with the licensing? And I know last time during one of our meetings, you were looking at some alternatives to expand sites. How is that going? And do you anticipate, you know, how long will it take for us to catch up in terms of testing?
So I think that's actually our next agenda item.
Oh, okay. I'm jumping ahead. Okay. Sorry. All right. Any other questions for Christy on the report? Andrew, your hand's up again.
Yeah, one last question. On the agenda, one of the bullet items is sunset review update. Is there any update to the sunset review?
Thank you, Andrew. Yes, there is. I mean, there's no update, but we do anticipate that we will have a hearing either very late February or sometime in March. Nothing has been set yet. But I do anticipate that will happen, and I want to make sure that unless we have new appointees, those of you who are termed out, that's why I want to stress that 60 days, because we might need you to have a quick meeting to approve the board's responses to anything that we receive from the Sunset Committee. So keep that in mind, and as soon as we know anything, we will relay that information.
Thank you. All right, any other questions before I move on to agenda item number 6? Okay, well, actually, I believe I need to open this up for public comment. So let's go to public comment for agenda item number 5, Executive Officer's report.
All right, this is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please click on that icon with a question mark within a square located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen. I'll go ahead and pause a moment to give the public time to access that Q&A panel and submit their requests. This is a moderator. In the meantime, while we're waiting for public to join, I have Dr. Carrie Williams on the line. However, I can't promote her to a panelist. I'm going to unmute her microphone so that she can participate in the meeting. So Dr. Carrie Williams, I'm going to unmute you.
Hi, good morning, Dr. Carrie Williams.
Good morning. We can hear you. Thank you. I'm going to leave your line unmuted, and then you can mute and unmute yourself.
Okay.
Since unfortunately I can't promote you to a panelist right now.
Okay.
And this is the moderator. It looks like there are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right, the Q&A panel is now closed.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 6, discussion and possible recommendations on options to address our practical examination backlog. Christy?
Yes, so I will start with letting you all know that our examination backlog is at about 7,000 applicants who are waiting to test. With our information that we received today that we can reopen, we are going to be starting with electrologists to try to get them in as quickly as possible because they have been waiting the absolute longest. And then we will start working on rescheduling the people who have been canceled. We will be continuing at half capacity for our exam sites for the safety of our candidates as well as our staff. Normally we have one examiner to 8 candidates, and that has gone down to 4 candidates, and sometimes we can do 5 candidates depending on which exam site that's at in order to maintain social distancing. Obviously, with this lower number and with applications continuing to come in, it's a serious situation that we're looking for alternatives to how we can address this. In that, I have, we do have our national, I believe they're online, our national association, our national organization, who's our exam developers, NIC, is on the line. And we have reached out to them to see if they could come up with some ideas. And if I could just take a minute to welcome in Miss Tammy Stokes. She's the new NIC president. And I believe she might have just a couple things to say that they're working on us with trying to get some solutions to this situation. So if moderator, if you could unmute Tammy's microphone.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you to the Board of California for taking the time to hear me. I'm really excited that I've had the opportunity to have communication with Christy over the last few weeks. We are going to be doing remote training for the examiners and for the new examiners that Christy wants to bring in to help with the backlog. And also we have, and I believe that's scheduled for the 16th and 17th of February. If that changes because of your new open order, please communicate that with me because we'll do everything we can to get you guys what you need. And also we've been working very diligently and have come up with a remote administration of the practical exam to help with your backlog. One of the virtues of having that national exam is that we have examiners that are trained across the nation, and we have around 200 certified examiners. So we're really looking for a way to help California respond to their backlog in a timely way. And there's going to be a lot of implementation details that we'll need to have conversation with Christy and her staff and the office to implement. But if we can move forward, we have a projected possibility of 6 to 8 weeks of helping catch up your backlog if we do a remote practical exam. And so we're very excited to work with you guys further on that to help.
Great, thank you, Tammy. And so from the so the board understands what you know, because we use NIC, our examiners are certified every year, and they come out to our businesses and train our staff. We had hired new staff because we needed them for examiners that were retiring, and then also to assist with our volume. And it based on COVID, we kept having to change our date for this because of the travel and the travel restrictions and the close proximity for social distancing. So NIC was able to get us remote training. So we're on track to do that, as Tammy mentioned. That is still happening on those days, and that's going to be a huge help for us to get. I believe we have 5 new staff that we're training. That doesn't necessarily mean that we'll be able to do more exams in our current setting, because as you know, we have 2 exam sites, and the practical exam is done basically at stations. And so our exam facilities are set up like giant salons in a sense. So the limits are there for how many we can get through. So we are happy that we were reached out to NIC to see if we could come up with some very out of the box ideas. I think this is definitely very out of the box when it comes to examining, and I think there's still a lot of work to do. So I would anticipate that at our next board meeting, we will hopefully have a lot more of an update on how far we've gotten and what we're able to do to address the backlog. With that, I'll have open to anybody if anybody has any questions.
I see Steve's hand is up.
I just have a quick question. I want to make sure I understand this. This is remote practical exam for our examiners only.
No, we're talking about 2 different things. We're talking about remote training for our staff.
Right.
And then we're talking about possibly NIC doing remote examinations for our candidates.
For candidates.
Right.
Okay.
Andrew, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, 2 questions. I mean, I understand wanting to get through the backlog as quickly as possible. I am concerned, though, about remote, how do I put it, remote practical exams, not the concept of it, but if we have people that have applied for jobs in California and they could do the job if trained versus, you know, somebody who's living in Idaho watching somebody on a webcam, I don't know. I'd rather, right now with the job market, I'd rather give people jobs in California, if possible. The other question is, can we open up more locations if we're going to do practical exams, i.e., could we find, unfortunately, maybe some salons around the states that might have failed, kind of a thing, and so the facilities are temporarily not being used, where we could book them for like 3 or 6 months or something like that to help get rid of some of the backlog, if we could staff them at all? Or are we, I don't want to say stuck, but are we truly limited to our 2 locations in Vallejo and you know, LA area? I can't remember where it is off the top of my head.
So we are looking at different possibilities. There, you know, we haven't looked at salons that have closed down as a possibility. We would have to contract with those facilities, which is also a lengthy process. And we've also looked at the possibility of holding additional exams at community colleges, if we were able to get the community colleges to open their facilities to us, because they usually tend to be much larger. The problem has come up that we don't have the staffing for that, and so that's something we can work with the national organization to see if there's any way we could bring in examiners that are with the NIC currently. But for us to hire temporary staff, hiring at the state level takes 2 to 3 months for a regular employee. So the staffing is an issue. I don't have staff that can go out to different facilities because then you're looking at how are they going to travel? What are the logistics around moving staff to these facilities? And then the security as well. This is definitely something we would have to work with the national organization. It's not our exam, so we need to make sure that we're following all the security agreements that are with the national organization and how that exam is administered. But I really think that you know, the work that NIC is looking into is all options are on the table. We don't have a firm answer right now at what we're doing because this is so out of the box and so many logistics that are involved. You know, we even looked at could we rent hotel ballrooms to set up for exams, but again, it takes staffing, it takes equipment. It takes, you know, location is huge. So again, nothing's off the table, but it's definitely something that's a work in progress for how we're going to address this.
Mhm.
Steve, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I have another question. Are the schools continuing to turn out graduates during this period? Are they shut down or are they doing remote learning? What's happening with the individual schools?
It's definitely slowed down, but it's not gone away completely. So it is they're still turning in applications. Most schools, I believe, are in a remote environment. And to be honest, in looking at the stay-at-home order being lifted, I'm not sure what that does to schools at this point. So that will be something we'll have to look at. But they're not at zero at all. They're still sending in their applicants.
My concern would be a much more fundamental concern on our examination process. Those 7,000 individuals, it sounds like we've reached that figure by, these are self-identified individuals that have applied for testing. And I would assume that they may be just the tip of the iceberg of people realizing that we aren't doing testing. So why should they apply? Why should they send in the $125? They conceivably could be waiting. I'm just wondering, my fear is that our board could face a really great crisis of failure in our examinations on the practical written, because they've been out of school for so long. How can anyone that's been out of school for 10 or 11 months and probably not been in contact with their school hope to sit for our examination? It's like having a class end in college and taking your final exam a year later. So I'm worried about that failure rate that could be staring us in the face. Have we given any consideration to adjusting our pass-fail requirements? What's pass and what's failed? And I would assume that there are other state boards, California boards, that also have license testing involved in their issuing their license. Medical, dental, contractors, real estate, insurance, anyone else. Has any other state board adjusted their pass-fail criteria based on the fact that there's going to be late testing after individuals have finished their education?
So not that I'm aware of. I do. You know, we are one of the few boards remaining that has a practical exam connected to the exam process. So most of those other boards are not. They're still testing. They, you know, we utilize PSI to do our computer-based testing for our written portion, and they have shut down and opened up as well. I believe during this last shutdown, they were able to maintain minimal testing at most of their sites. So a lot of other boards are continuing to test. I'm not aware of anyone else altering their pass-fail rates or how that is done. It's a national test, so we wouldn't have any control over that. I'm not sure if any of our representatives from that group online have a comment to that. But I did also want to mention that schools are also doing refresher courses with their students. So there is that as well. The schools are definitely they know what is happening and they are addressing this as well. And we were rolling out a new version of the exams, especially the esthetician and the manicuring, and we have delayed that because we don't want the people that have been waiting for so long to all of a sudden have to take the new version of the exam. The new version was supposed to roll out on January 1 of this year, and we've actually pushed that back to July 1, hoping that we will get all those people that were trained on the new version of the exam through that process. And that's all been communicated with the schools as well.
Is there any consideration at all we can show those students that have waited virtually a year now to take their exam in how we will judge their pass or failure rate?
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, if 60 is a pass rate on our exam right now, would it make sense at all to lower that to a lower number, given the fact that they've been theoretically a year between when they've completed their education and taken their written exam?
So I wouldn't be able to answer that. I'm not sure if any of our NIC people on the call could maybe raise your hand if you could address that.
And maybe our state department, our state people here that are involved in testing could also get involved in looking at that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something we can go back and look at. See if there's anything in that option, if we have options there.
But it seemed like this could be an urgency basis, would have to happen pretty quickly.
Oh, it's all urgent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it's quite the situation that we're in. That is what we are working on nonstop to try to come up with solutions.
I see Sabina has her hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, okay, good, because I usually, my microphones don't work the first time I try to talk. I just wanted to comment on a couple of questions about what other boards are doing. I know that I have another board that nobody has adjusted any kind of pass or fail rate, but I have there's boards who are working with PSI and other testing vendors to extend their hours. So potentially later evening appointments, they have quite a bit of extra hours that they are offering because they are lower capacity. And then the other thing we could look into is, I know the audiologists do a practical exam, and I don't know, I don't have them currently, but I can look into see how they're handling their testing during this time. And I want to remind everybody, I know Christy is obviously well aware and everybody on the board, but anything you do with this testing, you have to weigh your consumer protection issues and your consumer protection mandate as well.
I think Tammy Stutz from NIC would like to speak.
Thank you. I would just like to comment as far as with testing. I agree with Sabina that there are no states that have lowered their pass rates, and there really is no basis to lower standards because we do have that component of consumer safety. And so the more appropriate way is to offer refresher courses. And I also just checked with our psychometric advisors, and they're in agreement with that statement.
Are refresher courses out of the a purview of anything our board could offer in the future here because of this unusual time? Could we get involved in sponsoring some sort of refresher courses for individuals getting ready to take the exams?
We do have the NIC webcast on our webpage now, and it really is the best refresher course that a student could use. So maybe that's something we can look at to making sure the students are checking that and reviewing that. It already exists, so we could probably get something out and let people know about that again.
Okay. Anything further regarding the practical exam from board members? Any other questions or thoughts? Okay. I don't see any hands raised, so at this time I'm going to open this up for public comment.
All right, this is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please click on that icon with a question mark within a square located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen. And it looks like we do have a couple individuals who have requested public comment. We'll go ahead and start with our first individual, Wendy Cochran. Wendy, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 30-second warning. I am unmuting your microphone now.
Good morning, everyone. Wonderful to see you all again, and thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to the subject of potentially suspending the practical examination. If you look at the hard math right now, Christie's numbers are saying 7,000 are backlogged already. That does not include people that have not applied for the test. That would mean that you've got 4 people at each location. That would be about 875 days. If you bump up the testing to doing it 2 times a day, that's about 438 days. That's approximately 88 days worth of backlog just with 7,000 people that have not taken the practical examination. That's insane. I have a group of 6,500 licensed estheticians that I moderate. We have estheticians that have graduated back in the spring of 2020. Some of them have gotten their dates that are in September of 2021. That is more than a year and a half of them waiting while the schools are not appropriately responding with refresher courses and keeping them fresh and everything in their minds. They don't even know what to do. This is thousands of dollars of their education that is being wasted. They're sitting around, they're unable to work. Now we're getting the order lifted. Now we're having the opportunity for these gals to get their hands back and busy and working and contributing to the economy that we absolutely need them to do, if that is their choice to do it. This has been an extraordinary time, and we are so appreciative of everything you all do. But if we are one of the only boards that doesn't have a practical, isn't it like the job of the schools to graduate individuals that are competent and able and ready to be licensed and enter into the workplace? Where are the schools on this? Where is BPPE on this? Why are they not standing up for the students and asking for a temporary lifting of the practical examination to get these people back on their feet and into the job market, working and contributing and saving their businesses in the meanwhile? I really would love to see an emergency order suspension of the lifting of this practical examination in order to do right by our licensees and our potential licensees. Thank you.
All right, this is the moderator. Just as a quick reminder to members of the public, the Q&A feature is being used as a means for members of the public to indicate that they would like to make a verbal comment. Please do not type your questions in there, and we will go in the order that comments are received. With that said, we'll move on to our next individual who has requested public comment. Individual identified as Dana Elise. Dana, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 30-second warning. I am unmuting your microphone now.
Hello, you can hear me, I hope. Oh,
Yes, we can
sorry.
hear you.
Wonderful. So my name is Dana Elise, and I'm the owner of Dana Elise Solutions. I've been practicing electrolysis for 40 years, and I want to thank you so much for allowing me the time to share my thoughts on the issue of the practical exam for the electrology license. We are currently working in collaboration with the electrolysis schools, the American Institute of Education, and we've helped finance some of our electrologists to help them kickstart their careers. The schools are providing qualified, confident individuals, and we commit to hire them as soon as they are graduating. We place them under strict supervision, and they have rigorous training. They have to shadow us and are supervised for advanced electrolysis techniques to work on the more delicate areas, as 75% of our clients are transgendered, and the electrolysis performed before surgery requires finesse. They're taught how to perform consultations, sterilization, COVID protocol, client communication, booking appointments, and much more to round out their business knowledge. So right now, we have 2 students that have graduated AEI and are waiting to take their tests. They've been waiting since, I think, beginning of December. We've committed to hiring both, and we're excited to get them started on their careers with us and become successful tax-paying, giving back to the community. So we agree the written test is mandatory, but the practical exam should be eliminated as is not appropriate at this time with COVID. Besides, the schools should not allow any students to graduate without the skills needed to perform electrolysis professionally. So, and the other comment I'd like to make as far as lowering the standards is a bad idea in my scope, because once they come to us, we're already retraining them. They know the basics. And the schools are doing a pretty good job, but they have to totally be supervised, and that's what we do for the first year. And that's my thoughts on that. And then I just wanted to take the time to thank everyone on the board for all of the wonderful work you guys do and helping change the laws for physician-ordered electrolysis, as this has helped the transgender community in such a significant way. So I just wanted to say thank you from all of my clients as well.
All right, this is the moderator. We'll move on to our next individual who has requested public comment. Individual identified as Fred Jones. Fred, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 30-second warning. I am unmuting your microphone now.
And I see. Can you hear me okay? I'm hearing some beeps. Okay, good. I see
yes,
Lisa's
we can hear you.
saying yes. You know, going to do away with the practical, that is in statute. So that would require some legislative change. Good luck with that. You know, I always come back to aggregate scoring. That is embedded in statute. It's certainly implied in the law. And so it may require a waiver of your regulation to move back to aggregate scoring. And for those of you who are not aware, the board used to grade the exam with aggregate scoring for decades. It would be one final cut score for both the practical and the written combined. And a few years ago, because of OPES, your board removed that and gave a cut score for each individual portion of the exam. So you had to get a minimum score on the written, and doesn't matter how well you do on that, you have to get a minimum score on the practical. And so basically it cut your licensing exam into 2 exams. For students like, for example, apprentices that do mostly hands-on training, they typically do very well on a practical exam, but they often struggle on the written. Back in the aggregate scoring days, if they did really well on the practical, they could make up the difference and pass the overall exam because there was one combined aggregate score. I will say schools are invested in their students passing the exam. Their licensing depends upon it. So most responsible schools are offering refresher courses for the students that have been waiting for months. And a brief history lesson. When I started lobbying for the Professional Beauty Federation of California back in 2000, the exam delay was up to 9 months. So this is not unprecedented. And Miss Underwood, when she first joined the state board, helped address that issue, and they did some creative things. So I think what NIC has offered today and what Miss Underwood has described, I think where there's a will, there's a way. And I'm grateful for your board and for NIC taking this very seriously. And one final thing, it doesn't matter how much theoretical knowledge you have. If you can't put that knowledge into practice as you provide these services, it doesn't matter. So practical skills are the most important skills to determine whether someone can safely provide these services to their clients, the consumers that you are mandated to protect. So to us, any idea of doing away with the practical, we really resist. We think the long and short-term answer is to move back to the aggregate scoring of the exam, which will greater emphasize those practical skills. Thank you.
All right, this is the moderator. We'll move on to our next individual who has requested public comment, individual identified as Casey. Casey, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 30-second warning. I am unmuting your microphone now.
Hi, thank you. I hope you can hear me, but so I'm a manicurist graduate. I graduated back in November of 2020. And I was just curious on the options for the practical exam. I know that the concentration today's discussion is practical exams, but has there been an option, or has there been a discussion around options to split up the exams? From my knowledge, the practical and the written for the first, for those who took it the first time or the very first time, is typically done on the same day. Just curious to know if there's option to split it, since it seems like there's more PSI testing locations than the actual exam sites. That's it.
All right, this is the moderator. We'll move on to our next individual who has requested public comment. Wendy. Once again, Wendy, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 30-second warning. I am unmuting your microphone now.
Hi again, Wendy Cochran, California Aesthetic Alliance. Just to remind everyone, if we are talking about suspending statute, under the emergency order, somehow the state was able to suspend the fact that we can only work within the or under the roof of a licensed establishment. So why would it be out of the question for the state to come in under emergency order and go in and request that we suspend the practical examination, if in fact we are one of the only agencies in the Department of Consumer Affairs that actually offers a practical? You know, Sabina mentioned the audiologists. I'm going to go with there's probably not as many audiologists out there as there are manicurists, estheticians, electrologists, barbers, and cosmetologists. So again, under the statute, somehow it was suspended by the state of California under emergency order to get things on track, get people outside and working outside. We know that that didn't really work out all that well, but it's a thing that could be considered and could be posted up to the state of California to suspend the practical under an emergency order. Thank you very much.
All right, this is the moderator, and it looks like that was our last individual who has requested public comment. Would you like me to close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right, and this is the moderator. Just to interrupt real quick, I saw that Dr. Carrie Williams had to reconnect her audio again. Oh, and I apologize. Looks like she dropped off the call. I was going to do a mic check with her again. So we may have to wait for her to reconnect.
Okay. Can you let us know when Dr. Carey has been able to reconnect?
Yes, I'll keep an eye out for her in the attendee list.
Okay, thank you.
I'm here. I can unmute myself. My phone did disconnect. Sorry, this is Dr. Carrie Williams, where I couldn't see the presentation, but I can still hear you.
Okay, great.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right, thank you both. Just a reminder regarding public comments. The board is not allowed to respond to public comments, but of course notes are taken, and these are another way to respond to any questions. So moving on to agenda item number 7, update from the December 19th, 2020 Health and Safety Advisory Committee meeting.
This is Christy. So our Health and Safety Advisory Committee did meet on December 18th for a very in-depth discussion on updating our health and safety rules and regulations. There was not a decision made, so we do not have any recommendations for the board today, but we just wanted to give you an update that this was being worked on, and we will be scheduling another meeting hopefully in early February with our advisory committee to finalize our recommendations on the health and safety regulations. So the board will hopefully see a recommendation on this at the next board meeting. End of report.
Thank you, Christy. Are there any questions from the board members? I don't see any hands raised from our board. So if there aren't any, I'm going to go ahead and open for public comment.
All right, this is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please click on that icon with a question mark within a square located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen. I'll go ahead and pause a moment to allow the public time to access that Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, this is the moderator. It looks like at this time there are no requests for public comment. Would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, the Q&A panel is now closed.
Okay, so moving on to agenda item number 8, update from our January 12th Legislative and Budget Committee.
Thanks. So we did have our Legislative and Budget Committee on January 12th. The committee discussed several items for future legislative changes. What the committee is recommending to the board today is that the board authorize myself as executive officer to pursue conversations with the legislature regarding the authority over schools, as well as increased requirements over instructors. And so that is the recommendation from the committee and is open to the board for discussion.
Any questions from the board or comments? Okay, if there are no questions or comments, I will need a motion. Andrew?
I would like to make a motion to authorize the executive officer to pursue conversations with the legislature regarding authority over schools and increased requirements for instructors.
Thank you, Andrew. I will need a second for that motion.
I second.
Thank you, Jackie. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. We can open this for public comment now.
All right, this is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I've opened up the Q&A panel for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please click on that question mark within please click on the icon with a question mark within a square located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen. It looks like we do have one individual who has requested public comment, Fred Jones. Give me 1 second while I get my timer back up. Fred, once again, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 30-second warning. I am unmuting your microphone now.
Thank you. You have to be the best moderator for all these boards and meetings I've participated in. Thank you very much. Fred Jones, Professional Beauty Federation of California. There are two other issues I wanted to bring to the board's attention, which I did during the legislative committee. That's our desire to see us expand the externship program as a means of addressing the barriers to entry concern that some legislators have expressed over the last few years. Right now, externs are not allowed to be paid. They're limited to, I think, 10 or 8 hours a week. They're only given 10% of their clock hour credit for that on-the-job training. And there's a host of other limitations that we would like to see expanded to get kids, or students, I should say, into salons sooner. And if a salon owner so chooses, to pay them for their time. After all, the apprentices only receive 39 hours of formal education, and boom, while they're in a salon earning, they're learning. So we think similar treatment ought to be extended to full-time students. I will say that Assemblymember Patterson has been communicating with our association about possibly carrying a bill to expand externships, so stay tuned on that regard. But would love to have the state board support that if indeed he moves forward. The other issue of some significance in terms of timing is Assembly Bill 5, which allows for booth rental in our industry. Lorena Gonzalez's bill 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago. She did put a sunset on that right or ability for manicurists. So unless legislation is introduced and passed this year, we will be in a weird situation where skin and hair professionals and salons can utilize independent contractors, but nail salons will be prohibited. And our association seeks to represent every sector and segment of our industry, and we think that would be patently unfair. So we would also hope, even though this deals with labor law issues, it's certainly fodder, I believe, for the state board to weigh in support of any effort to extend that sunset so that all of your licensed professionals are treated equally. Thank you.
All right, this is the moderator, and it looks like that was our last individual who has requested public comment. Would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
All right, the Q&A panel is now closed.
Thank you. All right, so we will go back to the motion before us and have the board members vote. I'm going to start in alphabetical order. So Andrew, please start.
Andrew Drapton, aye.
Thank you. Calumet.
Ellie Pham, yes.
Thank you. Christy.
Christy Tran, yes.
Thank you. Derek.
Derek Matos.
Oh, Derek, you cut off, so didn't hear your vote.
Oh, forgive me. Derek Matos, yes.
Thank you. Jackie.
Jackie Crabtree, yes.
Thank you. And I know Dr. Carey's not listed on panelists, but Dr. Carey, do you want to give your vote?
Yes, Dr. Carey Williams.
Thank you. And Steve?
Steve Weeks, yes.
Thank you. Lisa Thong, yes. Okay, so motion passes. At this time, we will move on to agenda item number, are we on agenda item number 9?
10.
I'm sorry, 10. I'm seeing agenda item number 8 up, so I'm a little confused. Okay, agenda item number 10. Update. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
Agenda item number 10, update on the apprenticeship task force meeting.
Thank you. So our apprentice task force that we established at our last board meeting did meet, and it was a very productive kickoff to a very, very large discussion. We had great panelists on our task force, which included several program sponsors. We've had some recommendations to include some additional people to that task force, which we're going to work on. We do not have a recommendation to the board at this time. And again, it's a very big undertaking for this task force. They did a really good job with bringing forth lots of recommendations. And at our next meeting, which we will be scheduling for February, we'll be looking very much at our proposed regulations and hoping to bring something back to the board at our next meeting. We're hoping to get something at our next meeting. I do think this task force has a lot of work to do, because the more we really look into some of the issues in the apprentice task force, the bigger it gets. But I think we have the right people on board to make some great recommendations that will hopefully improve this program for the future.
Great, thank you, Christy, and thank you to our task force members, since this is a new group. Any questions from board members? Or any comments? I don't see any hands raised. So if no comments or questions from the board, I'm going to open this up for public comment.
All right, this is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please click on that icon with a question mark within a square located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen. I'll go ahead and pause a moment to allow the public time to access that Q&A panel and submit their requests. This is the moderator. Looks like at the public comment, would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
All right, the Q&A panel is now closed.
All right, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 11, discussion and possible action regarding rulemaking proposals.
So this item looks like it's very long, but it's really, really not. We have a few updates for you and one action that is being requested. I'll give the updates first. I wanted to let you know that the personal service permit and the substantial relationship criteria regulation packages are officially with the Office of Administrative Law. That's a huge success for our personal service permit. It's finally made it to OAL. OAL usually has 30 days to review those. I do believe that is a little more flexible under the COVID situation. So as soon as we hear from them, we will begin hopefully preparing for implementation of the PSP. The other regulation packages that are listed in your packets are currently under review by the Department of Consumer Affairs or agency. That's our transfer of credit, our externs, our disciplinary guidelines, and our disciplinary review committee. So no action and nothing further to report on those items. They're under internal review. And then we have one action that is required, and this goes back to a regulation package that the board has approved in the past. but we've actually made some changes to it. And so that language is actually in your packet. This is a change to instructional materials. What we have in the past, in the very past, we used to approve textbooks ourselves. When the board developed their own examinations, this was something that we actually did in-house. We moved that out of there because when we accepted the NIC exam. So the NIC, we listed what NIC approves. But in the sense of an actual approval of a textbook, no one necessarily approves textbooks. There's really two main textbooks in California. I believe there's three main textbooks in all of the country. There might be some of that third textbook in California, but we're mostly familiar with two main textbooks. So this regulation is changing to just state that at least one textbook in a course of instruction that the student is enrolled in needs to be provided to that student. And so this is making sure that the students that are in schools have a textbook. What that textbook is not something that we would approve, but we just want to make sure that they have a textbook. So that's what this change is moving towards now. Just to mention that this will be brought up in the regulations for an apprenticeship, just in case anyone had that question, but that's a different section of regulations. So that recommendation that apprentices have a textbook will be forthcoming from our task force. So this right now is talking about schools. And that is what we would need a approval from today on the board.
Thank you, Christy. Are there any questions from board members about this? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. So I know that Sabina, our legal counsel, has a very specific motion that she would like board members to use. So Sabina, did you want to go ahead and share that?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So as you know, in order for our language to move through the proper channels, we need this long paragraph motion that you'd love to hear me state. So I'm going to go ahead and read it, and then whomever would like to move it, you can indicate so, and then you can have your second, and you can go forward with your other discussion and comments. So the motion would be, I move that we approve the proposed text for a 45-day public comment period and delegate to the executive officer the authority to adopt the proposed regulatory changes if there are no adverse comments received during the public comment period, to follow established procedures and processes in doing so, and also delegate to the executive officer the authority to make any technical and non-substantive changes that may be required in completing the rulemaking file.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you did that. Didn't ask a board member to put that together. Would someone like to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a second? Andrew?
I will second the motion.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor. I will go ahead and open this for public comment.
This is the moderator. At the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please click on the icon with a question mark within a square located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen. I'll go ahead and pause a moment to allow the public time to access that Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, this is the moderator. It looks like we do have one individual who has requested public comment. Individual identified as Rod Hatfee. Rod, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 30-second warning. I am unmuting your microphone now.
Hello, thank you for receiving my commentary. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Well, this is a kind of a surprise this morning. I wanted to make a commentary about personal services and home services in the light of COVID and the spread of the virus. And
I apologize. I've been informed that this is comment has nothing to do with the motion. We are specifically asking for comments regarding the agenda item and the motion. And I've been informed by legal counsel that we can take public comments on the other reg packets after the motion has been taken. Is that correct, Sabina?
That's correct. We didn't do public comments for the rest of the reg agenda items, so we can finish up this item and then we can go back to public comments on the rest of the update.
All right. In that case, Rod, once the motion has been made, then you can, after that, you can make your comment on the other reg packets. It looks like at this time there are no further requests for public comment regarding the motion. So would you like me to close that Q&A panel for now?
Yes, please.
All right. Q&A
Okay,
panel is now
so
closed.
thank you, moderator. At this time, we'll go to a board vote and then we'll return to public comment on the other items. I will start with the board vote actually from the bottom of the list of the panel. So I'm going to start with Steve.
Steve Weeks, yes.
Thank you. Actually, and Dr. Carey, you're not on here, but Dr. Carey, would you like to go ahead and vote?
Dr. Carey, yes.
Thank you. Jackie?
Jackie Crabtree, yes.
Thank you. Derek?
Derek Matos, yes.
Thank you. Christy?
Christy Tran, yes.
Thank you. Calame?
Allie Mae Pham, yes.
Thank you. Andrew?
Andrew Drapkin, yes.
Thank you. And Lisa Tong, yes. Okay, so the motion passes. At this time, we'll go back to public comment regarding all other rulemaking proposals. So we'll go back to I believe it was Rod.
All right, this is the moderator. I have reopened the public comment, the Q&A panel for public comment. Rod, I'll go ahead and restart the timer and unmute your microphone now.
thank you. I appreciate your time. In light of the new rule that you're passing to allow personal services to be conducted outside the salon, I really find it surprising that this is past the board because of the fact that, you know, we are living in an era where employee-based salons and our employees are sitting at home abiding by the rules and not working while we witness kitchen hair being done out of garages, out of people's homes. You know, they're even advertising. So, you know, the mandate of your board is to look after the interest of consumers. And I, you know, really find it hard to believe that tax-paying salons like ours are being put to the side while freelancers are given the advantage in an era where, you know, at a time when this is all restricted, as of today, I guess. That's my commentary. I don't know. My solution, though, if I just may add, is public awareness, and the public should know that licensed professionals, you know, cannot come to your home to do hair. And that is something that I think a lot of people don't know. And maybe your budget should allow for some advertising, some outreach to the public that informs them in general on a state, county, and local level that you know, the proper place to do hair, where it's all inspected and monitored, is at a bona fide hair salon. Thank you for your time.
All right, this is the moderator, and we will move on to our next individual who has requested public comment. Individual identified as Michelle Saunders. Michelle, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 30-second warning. I am unmuting your microphone now.
Hello, this is Michelle Saunders. I'm a licensed cosmetologist for the last 30 years. I own a nail salon in California, and I've been a mobile celebrity manicurist for the last 15 years in Los Angeles, California. I would like to let everyone know that it's very safe to perform beauty services in people's homes, as I have done this for the last year during COVID safely. It's allowed through the Los Angeles Film and TV, and it's been being provided through film and TV for the last 100 years. So I'm very glad that we are finally, as a state, catching up to what's been provided for several years safely. And I think it's wonderful that each individual who do hair, skincare, or nail care will be able to provide this additional service to their clients, as well as in salons. It's time, and I'm just very appreciative that it's finally here. And if there's anything that I can do personally, who has many years of experience in this field, I'd be more than happy to donate my time to show all licensees how to do this safely. Thank you.
All right, this is the moderator. We will move on to our next individual who has requested public comment. Fred Jones. Once again, Fred, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 30-second warning. I am unmuting your microphone now.
Thank you, and I won't take 3 minutes. Fred Jones again with the Professional Beauty Federation, California. Hollywood does have an exemption, as do shut-ins, people who are physically unable to leave their residence. And then we have mobile units. But other than, I think, those 3 statutory exceptions, it is still currently illegal and in violation of your license to work outside of a licensed establishment for monetary gain. And the board has put out some notices to that effect in recent months, given the large number of underground activity happening during the 3 various lockdowns in the last 10 months. The legislature has mandated, however, that they adopt a personal service permit to allow for limited freelancing work outside of those safe and well-regulated and inspected establishments. I emphasize the term limited. So I would encourage salon owners that are concerned to look at the regulatory language that's being adopted and pushed through again today. Coloring, for example, is not allowed, and there's all sorts of limits as well on other license segments, including manicuring. And they have to have proof of insurance, among other additional requirements. So I do believe the board has done their level best to be responsible in protecting the consumer of these services. But I just wanted the public to understand that this decision was made above their pay grade, as it were, by the legislator and governor in adopting the mandate for a personal service permit. Thank you.
All right, this is the moderator, and it looks like that was our last individual who has requested public comment. Would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
All right, the Q&A panel is now closed.
Thank you. And I do want to just make a note regarding the personal service permit. It is on agenda item number 11 today, but however, that was an update. This personal service permit, as mentioned by Fred Jones in his public comment, this has been in the making for the past 4 years. It was mandated during our last sunset review. We were charged by the legislature to create the permit, and it is limited in scope, so I do encourage everyone to take a look at the actual language and to look out for news from our board regarding implementation in the near future. All right, so at this time we can move on to agenda item number 12, public comment on items not on the agenda.
All right, this is the moderator, and at the direction of the board, I have opened up the Q&A feature for public comment. Members of the public, if you would like to make a comment on this agenda item, please click on the icon with a question mark within a square located at the bottom right-hand corner of your WebEx screen. We're sharing instructions on the screen for your reference, and in the Ask field, typically in the lower right-hand corner of your WebEx screen, please type, "I would like to make a public comment," and send to all panelists. I'll pause a moment to allow the public time to access that Q&A panel and submit their requests. All right, and it looks like we do have a request for public comment. Fred Jones. Fred, you'll be given 3 minutes to speak and a 30-second warning. I am unmuting your microphone now.
Thank you. Sorry for so many comments. Fred Jones again, PBFC. I just wanted the board to know and those listening that the Professional Beauty Federation of California has been involved with advocating for this industry since 1999. I'm proud to say that I've been with the organization since 2000, so this is going on my 21st year of proudly representing this beloved industry. We've done quite a bit in the last 10 months with these on-again, off-again lockdowns that have been so devastating and we believe unjustified on our industry and our 600,000 plus licensed professionals. One of the things that I'm very proud of is for about 5 months, we've been developing an effort to get money into the pockets of our desperate stylists, our independent and self-employed and salon owners. So we actually partnered with an SBA approved lender and created an online portal with a 1-800 phone number assistance to handhold our folks through the PPP process. And I'm happy to say that nearly 11,000 licensed professionals have started that process to take advantage of this online portal. And starting yesterday, some of our folks have been receiving official notices now from SBA that their checks are in the mail. So this is, I think when we're done with this, we anticipate injecting over $100 million into the pockets of our desperate licensed professionals. And the vast majority of that will be 100% forgivable loans, so they won't have to pay it back. And I think all the board members are aware that back in May, we filed a lawsuit against the governor to reopen our safe salons. We put together a coalition last week of restaurants and salons to refile a federal lawsuit. We did not name the board as a defendant for lots of reasons, but the bottom line is we know the problem is not with your board. You guys understand how safe our salons are. But we have done our level best to defend, promote, and assist our beloved industry. Thank you.
All right, this is the moderator, and looks like that was our only individual who has requested public comment. Would you like me to close that Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
All right, the Q&A panel is now closed.
At this time, I think Christy Underwood, our executive officer, would like to make a comment.
I just wanted to make a quick comment, and it's something I probably should have brought up in my executive officer report, but I did want to take just a second of your time to make a note of 3 members who I have here that are termed out. Our current president, Ms. Lisa Thong, Andrew Jobkin, and Dr. Carrie Williams will be leaving us, not yet because you're in your grace period, but I wanted to just take a minute to really thank the 3 of you. You've been with me for quite some time, and I have appreciated very, very much all the support you've given and the guidance and input that you've done at this board. It will not be forgotten, and I just really wanted to take this moment to thank you all.
Thank you so much, Christy. It's truly been a privilege and a pleasure to be on this board, especially with all of my colleagues here. I don't know if Dr. Carey or Andrew, if you wanted to say anything.
Yes, this is Dr. Carey. I'm just so grateful to have been able to serve on the board for 2 consecutive terms. It's kind of surreal for me. So thank you so much Christy and all the staff, and I've enjoyed serving with all of the current board members as well as the previous board members. And just when Miss Christy Tran joined the board again, I have to leave, but I'm just really grateful to have served in this position for so long, and I look forward to continuing to work with the board as you move forward.
Thank you, Dr. Carey. Andrew?
I just wanted to echo those sentiments, and it's been interesting. Basically, it's not quite behind the scenes of the state government, but it's been interesting to see a little part of the sausage making, if you will. I've always been interested in politics and government, and I'm working on campaigns and stuff like that, and I read websites. So it's interesting to see, kind of like the behind the scenes of how things actually work and get things done. And it's been a privilege to work with everybody at the board and all my fellow board members. And I wish we were able to have, during this past year, have actually seen each other. I've missed that camaraderie and actually seeing how people are doing. So hopefully you guys will get back to that shortly after this Corona thing is licked. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Andrew. I saw Steve and then Jackie's hand. So Steve, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, I just wanted to say how, as a fellow board member, how I appreciate serving with each of you on the board and the great job you did. I think this profession is better off because the three of you served on this board and you really made a tremendous contribution. It's appreciated.
Thank you, Steve. Jackie?
I'm going to miss you guys. I really enjoyed serving on the board and learning from all of you. And thank you for all your tutelage and helping when I first got on the board, and for all that you've done to help, this industry and your care. And it's been a great honor to be able to be you all on this. And hopefully this isn't goodbye until see you soon.
Thank you, Jackie. And I know Christy Tran, you'd like to say something too?
Hi, I would like to say thank you to all my board colleagues for their time to serve on the board. And for Lisa, even though I have been working with you very short time, but you have done a wonderful job as a board president. And I really appreciate that. Carrie, it's been very privileged to work with you. And I have so much fun. I miss you, and I wish all of you the best. A Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. I see Calame's hand up.
Yes, I joined the board about a year ago, and I just want to thank you all for your collegiality and the tone you set in this board. And I'm grateful for your example, and I hope that we can carry on exactly the way that you guys have led. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Calame. Derek?
Yes, thank you. I just want to echo the same sentiment. I want to say thank you for your service. As the newest board member, it has been an honor to serve with you guys. I really appreciate all the effort that has been put forward. And Lisa, I just want to also say that it's been great to have you as a president. Your leadership has been impeccable. I thank you for standing up when it was time to stand up, for speaking when it was time to speak, and for pushing for issues that, especially in today's day and age, it's been a very tough year, but you did exactly what a leader is supposed to do. So thank you.
Thank you all. I have really high hopes for the next phase of this board. I thank all of our new board members, as well as those who are staying on from the past years that I've gotten to know some of you. I know all of your hearts are in the right place, and I can't wait to see the change that you're able to move forward in the upcoming year. And I just want to say a really big thank you to Christy Underwood and the staff. We've gotten to know all of you, and it's been eye-opening in terms of how hard you all work. I don't think the public knows exactly how much heart and effort and time the staff of this board put in. So very humbling to have served. So thank you all so much. All right. Very sad way to end the meeting, but I'm gonna move on to agenda item number 13. Suggestions for future agenda items. I see Derek, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you again. In lieu of today's conversations, the PSP and so forth and so on, I just want to bring something up that I brought up in the past board meeting, is hopefully we can add to the agenda, at least to begin the conversation about booking apps used in our state, and how we can potentially begin the conversation as far as regulating the usage of those apps to licensed professionals. Again, as our duty to protect the public, many people do use these apps for booking, and unfortunately, most of them are unlicensed professionals working outside of a safe establishment. So I'd like to begin the conversation of how we can potentially talk about safeguards in use of those apps.
Thank you, Derek. Any other suggestions from board members? Jackie?
I just wanted to address what Derek was saying. I know that we did have some time that we covered regarding these apps before you came on the board, Derek. So I'm not sure, maybe Christy can fill us in if there's something I remember legal that we couldn't regulate because they're their own businesses. I can't remember, but I guess we could just, obviously discuss that in the future.
Thank you, Jackie. Any other future agenda items? Calamy?
Yes, I'm sure this is an ongoing conversation for us regarding how we're going to deal with the backlog in testing. The representative from NIC mentioned that there is some work being done on a possibility of doing an online version of a practical exam. I would love to hear much more about that, and specifically how that would compare to an in-person practical exam, whether the kind of safety considerations that would be person looked at in would be able to be addressed online. I'd love to hear more information about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Calamy. Any other future agenda items?
Derek's hand is up.
Oh, Derek, is your hand up? Okay. Great. I don't know if this is something that we can look into, but it would be great to see if it would be possible to run a data analysis on the practical exam score to match up our pass-fail rates with citations. Whether or not there's any bearing on health and safety violations from citations based on how high somebody scored on their practical. That's just something that, if it's possible, great. If not, I just thought it'd be interesting to look at. So that's my suggestion. And other than that, I don't see any other hands up. Sabina, is that it? Am I okay to adjourn the meeting?
Yes, this is Sabina. Thank you. We've all noted those ideas for future agenda items, and I'm sure you can guess you will be hearing more about all of the COVID-related agenda items for much the foreseeable future.
Right. Okay. So with that, thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. It's 10:53. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye, everybody.
you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Right, this is the moderator of the meeting. This concludes the Board of Barbering and Cosmetology board meeting. I will end the WebEx session now. Thank you.